sessions that we're having around professional and industry conversations. And just so you guys have the idea about where this is coming from, is we have a lot of conversations in the zeitgeist about, okay, how do I get a job? How do I network? These are all very important and impactful conversations. But after you get the job and you're growing in your career, the next thing is how do you show mastery of your profession? How do you show mastery of your skills? How do you show your ability to grow within your industry in itself? And that's what these roundtables are for, as a platform to display that level of profession. So we're going to have multiple topics from the more general to the more industry specific. And it's our time to come together as a community to share our industry insights and knowledge with each other. So the difference between this and other sessions that you may have joined is that it's not just about you hearing people talk at you, it's about being involved in a conversation. So you'll be able to either use the comment section or speak out around the topics and questions that we have alongside the panelists. We can have agreements, we can have disagreements. The main idea is knowledge sharing and getting those messages across. So if you're excited for that, can I see like a quick yes in the chat, please? Can I just see a bunch of yeses of the excitement of getting involved in this? Yes, 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 yes. Oi, I guess someone gave an emoji instead of a yes. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Brilliant. Brilliant. So as you get into this, you're seeing on the screen there is a QR code. Hopefully, can people see a screen and a QR code? Please, if you see that, scan the QR code. So as everyone does that, the QR code is still there. We're gonna talk a bit more about ground rules. This is again an interactive session. So yes, the panelists will be speaking, but we're also gonna have to ask for your opinions as well. So please be willing and please be ready to give up your opinion, whether that is a conversation in the chat, whether that's a question in the Menti, or whether that's you actually coming in and speaking your mind. So please be ready for that. If you have questions or burning comments that you really want to bring up to the panel, please go ahead and put that in the Menti. When you sign up, you'll see a place for you to put in your questions and we're able to get back to it. We'll also be using the comment section as well for you to leave comments too. Please be respectful. You know what I mean? I know a lot of us get passionate around topics and we all just want to share our minds and our amazing hearts, but let's do that and be respectful of each other as well. Only constructive criticism, please. And again, QA at the end. Awesome. So I have with me an amazing, illustrious panel of incredible people from different industries and different walks of life. And we're going to learn a bit about them now. And we'll also learn about them throughout the whole event tonight as well. So here with me, I have Missy. Missy is a fashion innovator and tech founder. And her opinion on the question of is mentorship actually overrated is I don't believe mentorship is overrated, but its value depends on how intentional the mentee is. To make the most of mentorship, you need to understand your specific challenges and have a clear idea of the areas where you want to grow. So, hey, Missy, can you give us a wave? It's great to see you. Thank you
Hey
so much
guys,
for joining.
excited.
Cool. Now, we also have Jorishe, an amazing guy. He's a data strategy and insights director. And his opinion on the topic is mentorship can be impactful, but it is overrated due to the over reliance on the mentor, and good ones are hard to find. Career growth is mostly shaped by the mentee's efforts and circumstances rather than the guidance of a mentor. Jorishe, could you please say hi to everyone? Wave to the crowd.
Hello, hello, hello.
Brilliant, brilliant. Then we also have Jason. Jason is a tech X operations. He works in tech X operations at CNBC, and he's also a youth mentor. And his opinion is, it depends. What is your goal? Sometimes you're looking for a coach and not a mentor. Spoken like a true youth mentor. Thank you so much, Jason. Can you say a hi to the audience as well?
Hi everyone, good evening.
Good evening. And then finally, we have Miriam, who works in tech sales and is a keynote speaker. And Miriam's opinion is mentorship is like having a GPS for your journey. It won't walk the path for you, but it will help you avoid the wrong turns and get to your destination faster. The key is having the right mentor and being ready to put in the work. Spoken like a true keynote speaker. Miriam, can you quickly say hi to everyone? and all of
Hey,
that.
hey.
Hey, hey. Once again, please, if you could scan the Menti, make sure you're in the session so you can be part of the interaction. Because after hearing about the panelists, we also want to hear about you. So here we go. I'm assuming we've all logged in. If you haven't been able to get in and you're trying to get in, can I just see in the chat, I'm trying to get in? Cool. I'm seeing silence. I'm assuming y'all got in. All right. So let's get into it. So let's hear a bit about everyone. Describe what mentorship is for you in one word. I know it's hard and you have paragraphs in your head, but try to do it in one word. What is mentorship for you? Please go ahead and type that into your Menti right now. And as you do that, we'll see the responses blow up like magic on the screen. Support, guide, ooh, relations, help, opportunity, transformational, relationship. Ooh. And I'm loving how everyone literally has a different word that they're adding as well. Direction, personable, vulnerability. Oh, I'm loving these words. Brilliant. Okay, intimacy. Okay, we got some, I feel like this is a poem in itself, around mentorship. I'm loving these words. Thank you so much. Cool. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question now. The question is, what is your main way of meeting people in your industry? Do you meet them in the hallways of your office? Do you actually go to networking events? Are you a LinkedIn stalker? Is it through recommendations? Or is the truth that you just don't? Let's see that come in. For the hallways of the office people, I'm curious, is this you like sticking in one corner and people are walking by you just like, hey, 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 talk to me? Is that what's going on? I hope not. But if it is, power to you. Cool. A lot of networking events. Cool, cool, cool. Any more people want to join in there? Okay, cool. So it looks like the majority of people are networking events. And that's really interesting. So BYP is definitely the place for you because we're all about these networking events and conversations. Um, but it's just interesting to see where relationships come from. I will say we do underestimate the amount of relationships we make in our own offices. So definitely link into that where you can. But awesome. All right. Final question for the audience in this section here. How would you describe your relationship with mentorship? I have a mentor. It was the start of a whole new world. I have a mentor. Now, let's fast forward. It wasn't really the best, but hey, I did it. I am looking for a mentor actively. I'm in the market. I've been told to get one, but honestly, it's not my thing. And then finally, life is my teacher. I'll take advice, but honestly, I'm good. How do people feel here? Cool. It looks like most people are mentorship was the start of a whole new world. Okay, fair enough. Oh, okay, now we're getting everyone coming in. Wait, it's good to see the split here. So this conversation is actually going to be very interesting because we have very different opinions, and we'll love to see how those come to life. Brilliant. All right, so let's get into it. I am done talking. Thank you so much for participating. Look forward to more participation points later. So let's get into this. We're going to have a series of questions here that we're going to ask the panel and that you all will be also have the opportunity to be a part of as well. If you're still trying to get into the Menti and you just joined in the session, there's a QR code here. Please go ahead and join in. There's also a link at the top to do menti.com and put in that code and you're able to be part of future questions. So here we go. Corporate mentorship programs for gas or for reason? All right. We've recently seen an uptick in many mentorship programs to support and empower communities, but are they actually working for people, or are they more about publicity and companies trying to look good in these current times and situations? So, panel, how you doing? Who wants to take this first one here?
I'm happy to go.
Go for it.
I'm happy to go. Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think there are 2 points to this question. I think yes, and they are PR for the company. I think what ends up happening is senior leadership have targets to meet, and they recognize there are issues, and ultimately realize a mentorship program will be part of that solution. So therefore, it is PR. Sometimes it is a bit of a tick box exercise, and in my experience, some of these programs are actually quite um, generic, and they don't really help. They're not really set out to help people. It's just more, we've now connected you with somebody. It's done. We'll give you some collateral on how to meet and things to say, but really you're on your own after that, right? And the metrics they're looking at are more about uptake rather than a positive outcome after the mentor relationship has been done. But I say all that to say, to me, they do present a real opportunity. And I think, kind of ignore what I've said just now, but basically, you have met probably someone that's quite senior in your company or someone with a lot of experience, and it's really up to you to um, get the most out of that relationship. It might be quite difficult because they're not the best mentor or the program's not structured well, but there will be something you can take away from it. And there are so many success stories from these mentorship programs. Probably not as many as people that don't do as well, but there is always something you can learn. And even if it's just you now have a senior leadership friend, right, who you speak to every month. So I think, yeah, they are for PR, but at the same time, we can get the best out of them if we want to and if our intentions are there.
Awesome, awesome. Does anyone else in the panel have an opinion there as well that they want to add to that conversation?
Yeah, just to add, I would say that I agree. It's definitely a tick box exercise, but I think that when you get into the room, make the most of it. An example is um, at my previous role, working at Chelsea Football Club, I was I had a director who came from a previous football club, and I could see that his resume was like amazing. I wanted to see how he had shot up so fast or got to where he was. And just getting into that room of mentors, um, not only is the opportunity, but the other opportunity is you yourself going for it, starting that conversation with that person, or just observing the room and thinking, okay, I wanted to know more about this person's journey or how they could help. Um, yeah, and don't be afraid to ask questions. So, is it for gas? Definitely not for gas, but for PR, yeah. But make it work for yourself.
Mm. Okay. Thank you so much, Jason and Jerusha. Audience, all right. Let's see what you guys think too. So on the next slide, we'll also be able to hear your opinion. Corporate mentorship programs are for PR over impact. Do you strongly agree, neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree? Okay, someone was just like disagree straight away. Okay. Okay, so we're seeing some variance over here, but majority of people are in the agree bucket. Now, I'm gonna ask you to have a bit more confidence now. If you are in that agree bucket, it'd be great to hear your opinion. So, are any of you willing to come off camera and say what you feel a bit, or if not, type that opinion in the chat as well for people who say that they agree. Okay. No worries, no worries. Panelists, how do you feel? A majority of audience say that they agree that corporate mentorships offer PR over impact. Missy and Miriam, do you have any opinions there?
Yeah, so for me, it's an interesting one because I've definitely been on the receiving end of experiencing like really great mentorship programs within some of the corporate organizations that I've worked for. And I would say one thing that I've noted just generally with the workforce is that there is sometimes an issue with retention and ensuring that you keep employees in and engaged. And I looked at, when I was looking at this topic just generally, I looked at a statistic and LinkedIn did a survey and a study on employees who had left their job, and 94% of employees said that they left because they didn't feel like their companies were invested in their career or development and growth. And I think this is where mentorship can be really key. If you do have a structured program internally as an employee, that is an indicator or a sign that your employer is invested in you. And that could just make you that bit more comfortable with being there. In addition, I also think when we also think about mentorship, we kind of think someone senior or someone a few steps higher than us, but there's the opposite. There's reverse mentoring where, let's say, for me, if I'm a junior in my career, I could mentor someone who's more senior. And I think there's a benefit to that in general. Like, for example, ideas. If businesses are looking at innovation, rather than just focusing primarily on their leadership and the insights there, they can look at those below, So I think there's definitely impact there rather than just a PR stunt.
Okay. One person in the Q&A said a lot of them seem to be tied to DEI initiatives, which are no longer popular. And that's a great point, right? So after George Floyd and that whole incident, there was a huge rise in DEI initiatives, and we've seen them curtail. We've actually seen positions lost because those are no longer as imperative to a lot of business goals and structures. And so with that, what do we think? Do we also think that we're going to see a decrease in these amount of mentorship programs and stuff like that? And then what does that mean then if they do decrease? So what does that tell us?
Yeah, I can go. So to the question, I haven't actually been in a corporate mentorship scheme. I'm an entrepreneur, so I very much worked for myself, built my own companies most of my life. But I have been in several incubators and accelerator programs that come with a mentor. So you get mentor matched. And I have been in a few Black programs. So programs that are for global majority founders. In these programs, I have found the mentorships to be very much a PR tick box, all-inclusive package that comes with it. And not always have they really thought about who are they matching you with. Because one thing about having a mentor, I guess for corporate, it would make more sense because there'll probably be a mentor who works for the same company as you, maybe in the same department as you. But for someone who's an entrepreneur, I'm in fashion, and you're matching me with someone who's in farming, it might not be as appropriate. Obviously, there's some basic levels or some levels of skill sets that every entrepreneur has. But in terms of like what it means for my growth, it's not always the case. And it does feel very much tick box. But I think, Jason, you said this, and I feel like the case with any mentorship is for you, the mentee, to take advantage. If you're in a room with someone who is said to have more knowledge and skill set and has a CV, then take advantage of it. How you can do that is by doing some more research on who the person is, what are their accomplishments, what are their accolades, and see what you can take from that. I don't always think that, yeah, it's a great match or it's a great opportunity, but there is something you can leave with something. You don't have to leave with nothing. So any opportunity to have a mentor is actually more beneficial than not having a mentor, to me.
Okay, we'll stop. And that's a great way for us to end that part of the conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for that contribution. Okay, moving on to the next question now. And that question is, are people low-key just looking for the skip button when they should be working, right? So it's been commonly said that some people are not able to move forward because they lack a mentor, someone who's been ahead of them. But does this connection as a substitute for hard work? It's a question. For those of you who are interested in participating, please go ahead and scan the QR code. It's going to be there throughout the session. We'd love to hear your opinion as we move forward as well. But here we go. So actually, Missy, I'm going to come straight back to you because you nodded as soon as this question came up. So something in your heart just went like, boom. So...
Do you know what? Okay, so guys, throughout this webinar, I will be speaking from a entrepreneur's perspective. And for me, I do see some people, okay, myself, previously looking for mentorship as fractional C-suite support. So sometimes I will meet someone who's maybe, they're a CTO. Oh, I want to get them in so they can help me my financials, and then they can be my financial advisor, and they can do this. But the job of an advisor is guidance, not workload. And this is something that I've learned over time. And it's really been a slap in the face, actually, because I did expect, I've got a mentor now. My mentor is this and so, MBA, OB, da, 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 da. So connect me with your high value friends, connect me with investors, get me some funding, like drop $1 million on me, drop a bag. And it's actually not the way. It's very much guidance. So I think the skip button in terms of looking for an accelerator is kind of a connotation, but it's not really realistic. It's not a realistic expectation of any mentorship scheme. Yeah, maybe if you start to build a relationship and a friendship that's got depth, there can be some fractional type support, but basic level mentorship ain't no fast track. Save that for Fort Park.
Okay. Okay, yo, Jason is out in the crowd going like this. Okay. Jason, what are you saying? What are you saying?
But Missy's just dropping gems. I think that definitely agree. For me, Charlie, get to work, and stop asking for contact book. And it's the journey of your career, or let's say building a career. It's all in the so the joys of building a career is in the journey of meeting people, having different managers, being in different departments, different companies, and so you can't just say, oh, okay, I'm going to get a mentor to kind of fast track that or to skip that. If I look back at my career, there's a reason why I was at each different company. I've learned different things over working at different companies, and it's not something that I can just get a mentor and skip over. So I think definitely there's got to be some work in there, some work, and also just a different mindset of what you're building for yourself. Let's say, I wouldn't say a personal brand, but for, okay, the career of Jason, what am I, when people think of my career, what should I think of them? Not to say I've built it off OB or I've built it off somebody else. I've really grafted. I've been here. I've done this. I've gone here. I've also helped on a few projects here. So yeah, just to answer it, Charlie, there's no skip button. Work, and let's do the thing. Make it work.
Okay. So that's an interesting way to start off the conversation. All right, audience, we hand the floor over to you. What is your opinion here? If you want to get ahead without a mentor, it's a very long day. Do you agree? Strongly agree? Neutral? Disagree? Strongly disagree? And for the 2 points I've just been made, I'm liking where they're coming from. But here's a question to you both as well. So yes, we need to do work and all of that. But sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? So as much as I could be working, I could be digging up a hole in my backyard when there's no water there. And I'm just thinking I need to work. So I keep digging, when in reality I should be switching gardens. Sometimes the only way to know that is for somebody who's dug up gardens to tell you, right? So how do we balance that? Go ahead. Anyone can speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually agree with you there. While Missy and Jason are correct, I had a different perspective when I thought about this question, because I think sometimes the reason people see the mentor as like a fast track thing is just because like you said, they don't know. They don't know they need to water that relationship. They don't know that they need to kind of be very proactive with that person. They don't know that they need to look for create KPIs for themselves and talk to the mentor with that. I think sometimes you kind of just see a mentor on LinkedIn or one of these platforms and it kind of looks quite sexy and you just think, I get that, I'm sorted, right? And maybe we don't do a good enough job of highlighting the things that need to go into a mentorship relationship for it to be successful. And as a result, people are just seeing the end product and think that's what it is. Whereas in my experience, from what I've in my experience with mentors or sponsors and people I've spoken to, they're the most driven and proactive people. They just make it look really good, right? So I think there's definitely elements of what Jason and Missy said, but I think sometimes again, people just don't know what they need to do to get that good outcome.
Miriam, I'm gonna come to you now, but before that, just looking at the audience, it looks like the majority of people are in agree. In fact, 43% are in agree, whereas 14% are, oh, my bad, no, 43% are in agree, and then 27 are in disagree. So this is actually a bit of a split and a bit of a mix here. Audience members, is there anyone brave enough to share their comments in the chats or speak online? You don't need to show your camera, just show your voice. Feel free to come up with if you have something that you want to contribute to the conversation. I'll give you some time now for you to build your confidence. Okay, it's okay. They're still shy. It's all right. So,
No, I'll be
Miriam,
that
we'll
guy.
come back to you.
I'll be that guy.
Hello.
Oh, Dylan! Way! Welcome, Dylan. Please go ahead.
I'll be very quick and brief because I can be really long-winded. But I do agree that you, in a lot of regards, particularly in corporate world, just have to pick yourself up, right, and just get the job done. But I would also agree that there is a limit to what we're able to do in a way if we don't have folks to at least show us the way of how to get to where we want to go, right? And so having that balance of personal responsibility, and making sure that we maintain a good work ethic, but that we're also able to bounce ideas off of one another, whether that's a mentor or a colleague. I think there's a good balance there, but I certainly don't think there's a skip button for sure, for sure.
Okay, thank you so much, Dylan. And I see you're coming in here from America, so appreciate you joining from a different time zone. Thank you. Daisy, I see you raise your hands. Please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh, hi everyone. Sorry, my camera is off because I'm still at work. But I was going to say, like Dylan said, actually, I do believe that. Oh, sorry, can you guys hear me? I'm wearing my headphones. Oh, hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. No, I was going to say, like the previous person said, I do believe that it's not a skip button per se making a mentor, but depending on your background, depending on even who you are as a person, like your personality, corporate getting ahead, it is a game. So there's a level that you have to play within rules that are not quite in your face. Like there's a hidden game, I say. So I would say that it's beneficial to get a mentor because it does give you some tools that you may not have had just personally as who you are, where you come from. There's tools and skills that you may not have unless you interact with people in your field, especially people that have accolades and have gotten higher than you are. So I do think it's almost beneficial, almost needed, sorry, to get a mentor.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daisy. I appreciate your contribution, especially even at work. Oh, thank you. Dedication. Abundance is saying here in the chat, without mentorship, you can kind of figure out your own path and be experimental, learning lessons organically. No pressure. Thank you so much. And I love the no pressure at the end, just in case people are worried. No pressure. And that's actually a bit of a different opinion as well. So Miriam, would love to hear your contribution here. What do you want to say?
Yeah, I completely agree with that point. Like you can figure things out organically and naturally. But I'm a big believer of working smart and not hard. So, for example, even for me, like when I was breaking into the world of tech, it was difficult. And I didn't really know, or I couldn't really identify what was stopping me from getting in, right? So at the time, I found mentors, and there was one key person who's still in my life till this day, who was able to review my CV and just speak to the fact that my CV wasn't showcasing my talents and skills. Now, if it was just left on me, I would probably still be applying for tech jobs till this day. So I think it's so important to understand that you can work hard, but sometimes how far is that going to take you, especially if you just do it on your own? You may not be able to see everything, but if you've got other people's views, other people's opinions, then you're like, okay. And it allows you to shortcut the journey. And for me, like, if I'm ever mentoring somebody, I don't want them to have to struggle all the time. If I can help them skip a few stages or learn from the mistakes that I've made, then I will give them the gems. I will share. I don't want them to be like, okay, yeah, struggle for 10 years, just like I did, right? So for me, I do think skipping and not hard work is still there, it's very much important. But if you could skip a few stages and fast track your journey to success, then why not?
Okay, okay. Well, we've got some comments here and that as well. We also definitely agree with Miriam's point 100%. To expect to skip the steps is to be naive, but it also depends on, let me read this, on the relationship you have with your mentor. I can say that a mentor can at most help open doors that could take time for you to enter, but you have to put in the work to stay inside and not outside of the door. Okay. All right. So basically use the person as leverage to open what you can't open, but either way, you still need um to put in the work. Let's actually talk about this a bit because all this talk about open doors and closing doors and trying to get in there and you don't know how to get in there. Um, how do we all go about exposing ourselves to opportunities that don't currently sit within our environments? Can we talk about that a bit? So, people in the panel, I'm not sure who definitely wants to, is there someone who eagerly wants to answer that?
I've got a very quick one.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me this year, I've just said yes to nearly everything. And I found that has really broadened my horizon and it just really changed my perspective on things. A lot of things that maybe I thought were a bit that's too much or can I really do that as well? I've just said yes and I've met so many new people, expanded my network. I've done some crazy speaking engagements all just because I just said yes. So yeah.
Okay. So say yes. That is one clear way you found it to enter places that otherwise you didn't have access to. Okay. Other people as well?
I think that. Oh, sorry, Missy, go first.
Who was that? I didn't even see.
It was
It's
Jason, but
Jason.
go
It's
ahead,
fine.
Missy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry, Jason. Ladies first. um, yeah, I think the yes is a good one, but sometimes it's like nobody's asking me for me to say yes. No one's even
Mm-hmm.
giving me the choice to speak. And what I found recently is that we need to touch grass. We need to go outside to where things are happening. Go to network events, go to conferences. If you're wanting to get into tech and there's a tech conference and you don't know anyone in the room, but you know it's a tech conference, go because there's going to be people in the room that are more than likely in the field you want to get into or around it. And I think conversations build relationship, which builds introductions, which builds invitations. So I've been able to get into WhatsApp groups and different rooms just because of like going out, meeting people who are like, oh, I know someone that I want to intro you with. You guys are, and me and the person I met probably have nothing in common, but because they know what I do and they know someone else, that's how I've just been able to expand my network and get an opportunity to give a yes.
Mm. No, I'm loving that. That's so basically get outside, leave your house.
Do
This
you know
remote
what? We're
working
so
thing.
wrapped up in we're all in the digital world, and I love it because as a working mom, this is so convenient for me. But sometimes we need to touch grass. Yeah,
Mm.
go outside.
Go outside. Touch grass, go outside. That's a t-shirt. Thank you so much. Loving that. Actually, anyone in the audience, does anyone have anything to add there before we move on to the next question here? About how do you go about opening doors that aren't otherwise in front of you, in order to get that next opportunity that you don't know about? How do you get into those rooms? How do you get there? You haven't agreed with Missy's points. Missy, you have a fan. Cool.
I just wanted to add something quickly,
Go ahead.
Abina, because it's something that I've been proactively working on this year. And the first thing I would say is, well, for me anyway, building my personal brand online. So that has just changed the game, changed the game. And opportunities have come to me, whether it be even this opportunity or about a month ago, I had Nottingham Trent University reach out to me and they were like, Miriam, we've been following what you've been posting on LinkedIn and we want you to talk about tech, the sales skills element of tech. So had I not put myself out there or been intentional, then those opportunities wouldn't have come. And sometimes the powerful thing about social media or building a personal brand online is that you may not see who's looking at you, but people could be looking at you and monitoring you for an extensive period of time. So you don't know what opportunities come your way. I was also nominated for 2 awards this year just by me putting my brand out there and people just saying, okay, Miriam, we want to put you forward for this award. So yeah, personal branding is something that is imperative and I always speak about it.
Mm. I love that. So in a way, that's another way of saying go outside, right? In this case, outside on the digital landscape and get people to know who you are and what you're doing. So I'm loving that. I've said that if you have questions about personal branding and all that, Miriam, I know you're always open to helping and supporting the community. So you can follow up on LinkedIn. Or we have some questions at the end. Maybe that can be one of your questions too. Love that. But here we go. Okay. Our third question here. Black on black mentoring. Is the search for pigmentation a barrier to progress? By the way, if you're interested in getting in on this answer, please scan the QR code and be a part of the participation here. So, is a search for a mentor that looks like you actually stifling an opportunity to progress? Should we look outside of our race for a way to get a leg up, even if they do not relate to the experience? And one way of looking at this is race, another way is culture. Another way is even age group, right? How do you get outside? Should you be going outside, your confines to get that next opportunity, or do you need to double down on where you're at? So, panelists, let's go with Jerisha. I'll let you start this, and then we'll move around.
Yeah. So I think not all kinfolk is skinfolk. Made me chuckle a bit. But I do agree with that. But I think in this situation, so I'm one of the leads of the Black Employee Network where I work, right? And what I found is that we cater to Black employees, and that is our remit. But everything we are doing is centered about being Black, and we're the minority in the workplace. And what I found is we've got this safe space, but I don't believe you can really grow in a safe space. And I think to kind of link back to the question, we know we are Black, we know ourselves, we know what we know. And I think sometimes to progress, you need to search outside of you. And I think what ends up happening is you're so concerned with how the person relates to you, if they understand where you're from, if they know how to spell jollof rice properly. Like we're so concerned with the packaging of the person, we kind of overlook what they could offer us and also what we can offer them. I think it was mentioned before about reverse mentoring. You've got somebody that is really senior in their position who wants to have a chat with you frequently, and they don't understand everything about you, but also they might want to. And now you've given them a perspective that can basically trickle down throughout your company, right? So I think to kind of just summarize, I think, yes, it is a barrier trying to make sure everything's Black on Black and the perfect situation for you, the perfect person that understands you. I think we need to start being a bit more strategic. And also, I won't say it's lazy, but I think, yeah, we need to step out of our comfort zone and not be confined into what is safe to us.
Okay, so we're to start the conversation. What is safe to us? Get out of what is safe to us. Okay, Jason, love to hear your point of view here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I think that from a personal perspective, I look at my career. I don't think I've had many black mentors. That's not because I couldn't find them, but I just felt, as Dorisha was saying, just finding someone that you can relate to and someone that was interested in me, wanting to know more about me, wanting to push me more. And that may not usually be our kinfolk, you know. And so, is it a barrier? I think if you had to say yes or no, I would say yes. But there are some black people in companies doing some great things. And so let's also not take away from their where they've got to. I think one thing I like to look out for Obi as well is people's stories. Yes, you can have a title and you've got to where you've got to, but how did you get there? Everyone here on the panel has a story. Miriam has a story. Missy has a story. Dorisha has a story. Even Obi, you have an amazing story of where you've been and the things you've done. So I really relate to stories as well. And so not to say you've been in the trenches, council estate till this to now. No, no, no. But when I hear something, I'm like, oh, okay. I relate with that, or I like that part of your story. I would like to know more. That connects me more to you. And that's past skin color, really.
Okay, so focus more on the story than on the outside appearance and the person. Okay. That is a way to segue to our audience participation. Okay. You all have stories too. So we'd love to hear your contribution here. Mentorship works best with someone with your same lived experience. Strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. We'd love to hear everyone's opinion here. Jason, I appreciate what you just said now. And one thing that it reminded me of actually was an auntie of mine. She actually hates it when she has a manager who is black, right? Or like her. And the reason is because she's had some of the worst experiences with that, where she had this thing where they were 10, 15 years older than her, and they wouldn't allow her to push ideas and have conversations because she hadn't had enough experience like them. And so she felt like it was very difficult for her to move forward within her career. And that made me feel very conflicted because in a lot of ways, this becomes one of those things where we now start disliking our own people for things that other people have done, right? We don't want to count across our whole people, right? Like you said, some of us have had amazing stories and have gone to places that none of us have been before, and we need them to be doing that. And so there's this conflict that I was having internally. It would be interesting to hear if other people have had similar experiences or know of people with similar experiences and how they've gone about going around that. And just looking at the audience here, we're seeing 33% in the agree and 33% in disagree. What's going on, you lot? You can't make up your minds. Okay. Interesting. Before we hand it over to the audience, I'll let you build your courage because I'm going to come to you in a bit. Missy, do you have an opinion here?
So this is a very interesting one because I actually don't have any black mentors. Actually, all my mentors at the minute are white men. So it's really interesting. Sometimes I think, do you know what it is? I think lived experiences is one, but there's a lot of projection that can happen subconsciously when we are working together. And there's a lot of like, my story needs to be your story or similar to your story. And I think for me personally, having that disparity of gender, race makes it about the work and the knowledge and the skill set. Because but it's very much, again, going back to what I said initially, was what do you want to learn? What areas do you need to grow in? I think those are the most important questions you need to ask yourself. If color is not a factor in any of those things, then it shouldn't make a difference to who your mentor is. But for me, I know there's certain skill sets that I need. I looked at who were in those positions, who I had access to, and they happen to be white men. So it is what it is. I think there's nothing wrong with us, Black people. I think we make excellent mentors. And actually, I do have friends who are mentors. They don't mentor me, but they are mentors. And the energy they put behind their mentees, because they're fellow Black women, they're like, nah, I need to get this girl, an opportunity. She's working. So I do feel like there is a certain vim that some mentors can have. But as a mentee, I don't think that should skew you from who you look to apply mentorship from. And the basis of who you select should be on what skills and growth areas you need in this season.
Okay. I find it interesting how that seems to be a consistent measure for how you look at a lot of things. You look at things in terms of skills, in terms of like hard things that you can hold tangibly and then apply. And so even when looking at people, you're looking at what are the tangible things I can use to then apply. So that's an interesting mentality that you have there. And it seems to encourage you. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel like do you know what? Okay, so can I just say, guys, for me, I know that I need other things. So like I need someone to help me hold me accountable. I need like emotional support, but I have people in place for that. I have God, I have my friends, I have my family, right? So I know that a mentor can't be my all. So what do they have that the people in my direct environment don't have? And that's why I seek it. Some people don't have anyone to hold them accountable and would love a mentor that can be like, have you done that application? Have you done that? But like me and my friends are those kind of people who we actually have weekly things. And I guess it's all about your needs. So those are my needs. Yeah.
Okay. Just reading a comment in the audience here from Dylan. Another thing at play is that race and ethnicity don't automatically connotate similarities in culture, custom, class, or background. And in some instances, seeking out mentors specifically because of one shared identity may very well backfire if the values, experiences, or perspectives diverge in various ways. So Jason and Jory shares points. Sharing stories and engagement with folks who give us the space to grow, make mistakes, and learn from our mistakes is a really good formula for professional and personal development. I love that. Yes, and same with you, Jason. I would love to hear from the agree or disagree section. So, audience, people who said that they agree, people who said that they disagree. What are we saying? Do you have anything you want to add to the conversation here? Feel free to raise your hand or just go straight off mute. But while that's happening, I'll go ahead and see some other points in the comment section here. We're seeing a lot of hearts for what Dylan just said. So Dylan, a lot of people are vibing with you. Abundance, I agree. Sometimes people who see yourself in a better way for community than sometimes people who you see yourself in are better for community than mentorship. Great point. Yes. Sometimes perhaps they're not the mentor, they're just people you need around you. Great point. And then Winnie also, I believe agrees with Missy's point as well. Miriam, I know you have a perspective here. You've been biding your time, holding yourself back. Would love to hear from you.
So am I like trying to answer this question on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
or if you have other points as well that you want to go into, feel free to do that too.
okay, thank you. So I would say, for me, similar to what Missy said, like I'm not really fixated on color or people with the same lived experience. It's more, what do I want to achieve? Where do I want to go? And who can align to that? And I'm very big on having a diverse having diverse mentors essentially. Yeah, because at different points in your life, you may require different things to what Missy said. So yeah, it's important to make sure that you're not just putting yourself in one box. So let's say if I have a mentor in this season to help me with a project that I'm working on, right? What happens next year if I'm not working on that same project? Is there someone else that can help me with progression or career progression? So that's that. And for me, I very much have a variety of mentors, including people who are younger than me. So it may sound weird, but my little sister, I would consider her to be a mentor, particularly when it comes to things like social media. For example, TikTok. I have no idea how to use TikTok, but she helps me. Or if she, like, let's say if I'm trying to work on a particular thing, she can give me insight from her generation because there's about 10 years difference. So having diverse mentors is really important rather than color or being fixated on color. But I love the point of what has already been mentioned in terms of like, if you do have somebody that looks like you may feel that bit more comfortable to open up or to be that bit more vulnerable and to relate. So there's definitely pros and cons to the two, but for me, diverse mentorship is important.
I love that. And I love the fact that you brought age into this as well, because to some extent, I have seen this in the workplace where there's some level of age. I don't want to say the word age discrimination, but age bracketeering, where we say once you've gone past, for some reason, on every like marketing survey, 45 plus is just a category. If you're 45 and over, you're just there. So it doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, or 45 plus, same person. And in terms of experience when it comes to work, you definitely do see that not all experiences are necessarily held at the same level. Um, and you're right, the younger generation, when it comes to reaching their audiences, which a lot of us are trying to do in our various work efficiencies, the best way to reach a young person is to hear from a young person, right? Because they know themselves better than you do because you ain't there. I'm not saying we ain't young, but younger people, right? And so I'm curious to see how has age factored in into your mentorship journey, right? How do you go about looking at people older or younger, and what sort of things have actually you faced as well? And when doing that, I do find, for example, I've worked with a number of programs that are trying to support youth in the various ways, from opportunities to jobs to skill development. And there seems to be this gap of, I want to say, 26 to 32, where you're kind of on your own. There aren't really a lot of programs to touch that age group. There's a lot for afterwards because by then you're returning to work, quote unquote. There's a lot for younger, but that age group, they're sort of just out there in the wilderness. So how has age, I guess, impacted your connections and your ability to mentor and receive mentorship? Does there any panelists want to tackle that immediately? If not, I can pick anyone. Okay. Jorisha, I'm gonna come back to you. What are you saying?
Yeah, age is an interesting one. I think naturally, well, in fact, as a Nigerian man, right, we have a relationship with our elders, right, that kind of makes us, I guess, take what they say as gospel sometimes and not really push back. And I think so sometimes it's quite difficult to approach. You have to unlearn a lot of things when you're in that mentorship relationship, right? Because there are times you need to push back, or you need to say something different, or you just need to kind of stand up for yourself in that moment, right? So I think, yeah, I guess you do want to kind of seek people with that wealth of experience. But I think for me, and you kind of touched onto that point of like 26 to 32. So I'm 29, and one of the guys that I mentor is 30, right? And what drew me to him was just how we were in the same basically place, and he was so, I would say he had a hunger that I wanted, right? And I think, yeah, like we probably have the same amount of experience to give each other. We have probably nothing new to give each other, if you know what I mean. But just the fact that we're in a similar place, we have a similar hunger, we will figure something out. So I think age is great because you can obviously rely on that wealth of experience. Again, as a Nigerian man, it's a bit of a weird thing to traverse sometimes, but ultimately, like, I'm kind of in that limbo place, and I found to kind of get through it. It's just about finding someone that's in it with me, to be honest.
Cool. Well, thank you. I'm just looking at the comments because while you were talking, some bits came through that relate to what you were saying, but also say things a bit different. So, Thomas, theoretically, those who we can relate to would have been relate. Theoretically, those who we can relate to would have been a great fit, given the livid understanding and experience from a spectrum of things that are relatable. Something about learning from your own that's just empowering. However, it's about leverage. And I think you make a great point here. And I think maybe that's something we can touch on a bit more as well. These lived experiences, right? There's something about, um, something as simple as there's been a death in the family. Different cultures touch death in very different ways. For some, that would mean you're gone for a month because you need to go back to your village in one corner place. You need to talk to all of the family there. You need to find a coffin and then organize this whole ceremony. It's not a one day off thing. It's a spectrum, right? Marriage for some people, marriage takes like 3 or 4 days. Sometimes it takes a week. Sometimes it takes an afternoon. Um, there are different cultural nuances that perhaps when you have someone that relates to you, they're able to understand why you do things the way they are, and perhaps they resonate with you in a specific way, especially in terms of struggles, right? So, for example, Jerry Shea was talking as a black man who I'm not super tall, but I'm tall enough. Um, I know, for example, some people, as soon as I walk in the room, they're a bit afraid of me. They won't say it, but they give me a quick double take, right? Because of whatever thing that means. And so that also means I need to become very mild-mannered within certain rooms so I don't shock the life out of people if I be too energetic like I am with all of you right now. So that's a specific experience. So panelists, what do we think about that? How do we talk about those experiences and how that interacts with mentorships that we could have? And Missy, I'm going to come to you.
So what's the actual question? What's the question here?
Great question. So we're just talking more about that relatability factor, right? Because as much as we're saying leveraging skills and people, you get people who you need for certain things, having a mentor that relates to your experience, it gives that certain level of empowerment because they just understand what you're going through more than anyone else. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm going to rebuttal this.
Okay.
To give, some flavor to this call. And the reason why is, like I said, I haven't really had a mentor who is Black or of the same kind of descent or story as me. And it forced me to come out of my comfort zone. And I think to grow, you need to come out of your comfort zone. That safety blanket that we look for isn't there in the real world. It isn't really there when you're trying to climb the ranks. Eventually, you will need to talk to someone who doesn't get you, doesn't care about your story, doesn't even want to know your story. They want to know, can you perform? Can you deliver? Can you execute? So, as much as I would love to have that relationship with a mentor that I feel extremely safe in, I don't feel like the relatability is important. I feel like the safety or to confide in them is important. And how I go about doing this during the mentor matches or the initial conversations that you have is be 100% yourself. Guys, please. I'm really big on not code switching. I hate it so much. Like I hate it so much because as Black people, what we were telling ourselves is that they hold the power and we need to be like them to be accepted by them. But a lot of the time, people want to know more about us, our culture, our stories. And when we come on calls or we get into conversations and we try to like, oh yeah, like the weather and talk about all these kind of things, that isn't actually supporting growth. And I read something earlier that said anything that I say or said and you don't agree to, or it makes someone want to, not engage with you, is actually God's way of making you aligned. Because if the people that don't get you, don't connect with you, don't want to work with you, that's fine. Because the people that do, and they will come. So, yeah, I hope that answered your question in a roundabout way.
No, no, no. That's why we want it. Perfect. And I'm actually glad we have some disagreement here because that's healthy. Because Jerisha actually disagrees. You have to code switch a little bit, just a sprinkle. Um, and that's another point as well.
But can
But
I just say,
Winnie
I'm not in
agrees.
corporate though. That's really interesting that you said that
Hmm.
because I'm not in corporate and I can only imagine all that work politics and, you know, oh God, yeah.
But I just see it as I don't speak to my mum the same way I speak to my sister or my cousins or my boys or girls I'm trying to talk. Like I'm a slightly different person in different arenas, right? And I think ultimately that is how you need to approach your job. Like for example, you wouldn't talk to a supplier how you would talk to a customer or how you would talk to your mentor, right? There's a slightly different Missy that appears, and you know what to dial up and what to dial down in different scenarios. And I think obviously code switching is ultimately like bad, but I think there's a code switching we need to do, which doesn't mean we lose ourselves. There's a code switching that we do that brings out our best qualities, and I think that is what we kind of need to do a bit more of. But yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
Okay. Miriam, do you have a point here?
Yeah, with code switching, it's a difficult one. Like, although I work in tech now, I've also done roles at like some top legal law firms. And I remember when I walked in with a different voice, a different accent, because people around me had that energy. But I quickly learned that being authentic and being your true self was what was going to take me far in life because just like almost faking it to fit in just didn't sit well. Like, how long am I going to speak like this? How long am I going to act like I watch certain programs on the weekend, you know? So that's what I've carried, like that's what I've carried with me throughout my career. And even when I mentor others, I'm always just like, be yourself, because whatever comes to you, whether it's mentorship or if opportunities come, if you're yourself, they're coming to you. They love you. But I do understand the point of having to code switch in order to sometimes, yeah, get opportunities or fit into certain environments. But not to the extent where you lose who you are and your identity. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to go over some points in the chat right now as well. Um, Winnie, you've said a couple of things, but I'm just going to go to what you said originally. Um, about the age bit. So, and it's a shame because older adults have more experience and have seen changes. Mentoring within the same age group can keep people in boxes. Um, Abundance. That's why it's important to encourage young people to take advantage of programs directed at them. So once they cross that age barrier, they're more equipped to handle the transitional moments of the training rules being taken off. Very much so. Peter, my opinion, there is a difference between lived experience and professional experience. Professional experience is acquired by a variety of elements, challenges, difficulties, failure, success, and these may not necessarily be the same to what you have faced in your own life. You're looking for someone you can easily relate, free to communicate, and are willing to receive corrections, be ready to get out of our comfort zone. That definitely resonates with what Missy and Miriam were saying there. Abundance, I relate to you on the funeral bit. There's a reason that example came to my head because I've been through a traumatic experience there, so I'm with you. Um, Winnie, 100%. Sometimes the people who are supposed to be relatable no longer associate with that version of themselves. Okay, I'm gonna touch on this point a bit because it'll be interesting to see how this happens here. So at a panel that I was at recently, code switching came up, and someone specifically said, you know, people don't understand what the way I speak, but I want to be myself and talk the way I speak about myself. So how do I handle that in a work session? And one thing I'm going to bring up here, and it'll be interesting to see people's opinion here. I would say there's a difference between um, the communication problem that some of us have at work. Because at work, part of your job is to communicate value, right? And when you're trying to get a client on board, and I think even in the entrepreneurial world as well, you need to speak the language that your client speaks because that's the way they understand deliverables. And if you don't speak their language, you're going to miss the business. And so there is some level of communication problem where, yes, you do need to adjust to speak to the audience that you're trying to reach because there is communication there. But at the same time, I think the nuances that make you you will still stay. So, for example, I gave the example of some people find me scary, so I tone myself down a bit. It means I'm not like I'm a shouter. I'm an accidental shouter. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put it out. I'm an accidental shouter. It just kind of comes out. It does mean though, when I'm in a professional setting, you still feel the intensity and the enthusiasm, but perhaps the volume of the shout is at a 7 instead of a 10. It's still there. And so I would just equate that there. Uh, on that point, what do people think about that? Communication problem versus code switching.
Yeah, I think again, you were at my panel event when you made that point, and I think that was perfect. I think the man that raised the point, I think that was basically his problem. I think he felt like he was almost losing himself to communicate, but I just don't think he understood the difference between the two. Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's a communication thing. Like, know your audience. If I'm speaking to strategists, I know I need to come with very pointed arguments and I need to have opinions. If I'm speaking to client services people, I need to come with solutions, right? There's just different ways I need to appear to get the job done and advance my career and be the best version of me. And I think ultimately, as well, I found personally, the only person I can be is myself. When I'm being myself, I'm the most confident, I'm the most comfortable, and I get the best outcomes, right? And I think if I just have to not say the word in it in certain conversations, it's something I have to do, right? And again, fortunately for me, I work in marketing, right? So we don't really have to wear suits. I can wear my Jordans. I'm quite comfortable. But if I just have to wear a shirt to get that message across, I've got to wear the shirt, right? If that makes me communicate more effectively, I will do it. I'm not changing myself. I am who I am. But yeah, that's my point.
Does anyone else on the panel have another point that they want to raise there?
It's interesting. Joshua mentioned wearing the shirt. So with IT, or with tech per se, helping anyone, a day looks different, right? A day looks different. You could be under a desk fixing something. The next thing you're in a meeting talking about the next IT project. And an example of wearing something. So I think I used to work for a company on Fridays, a bit more casual, like, is it tech fleece, tracksuit, whatever. Someone goes, "Oh my gosh, you're the company Stormzy." And I'm like, "Oh no."
Seriously? Okay.
And I'm like, "Okay, wearing that again." And I think this is borderline HR. But yeah, I mean, it's for me, I felt comfortable in it, and working in it, and I didn't even think about what I was wearing. I was more so, okay, I'm gonna do the job today or do this today. But yeah, I think that sorry, I've lost my train of thought after the storm.
You got lost in your story about
Everyone's typing.
your clothing and how working within different environments and how to, I guess, present yourself. I think that's how you're doing there.
Yeah, for me, the point I liked earlier was about the age thing. So if I can kindly touch on that, is that okay?
Go ahead, sir.
So I feel that sometimes some people who are older, not everyone, but um, working IT, you need to wear short sleeves. Okay, I hear you. Um, I feel like some people who are older are sometimes comfortable where they are. And so when you join as a new employee or you're part of their team, you're rather they're rather intoxicating you to say, "Oh, look at this," or "I know about this," or "This has been happening here," and "This has been happening here." And I think such that they're the right fits to kind of help you grow in a company. So again, it's looking at the right people, walking with the right people, and no matter what you're wearing, no matter your background, I don't think personally, again, agreeing with everything that everyone said, don't lose your identity. When I walk into a room or the projects that I've worked on, it's because I'm Jason, because I'm who I am. I woke up in the morning, come to work, ready to finish a project, ready to give an idea or an opinion about something. And that's not to conform by code switching. Do I feel like I've code switched before? As everyone was talking, I was like, have I done code switching before? I think I have at early stages. I was like, yeah, but I think eventually you realize that you just feel more comfortable and more happy and more content being yourself on a day-to-day basis, I think. So yeah, that's my 2 pence.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Jason. I'm now going to ask a question to round up the panel discussion to all panelists. You actually know what the question is, so be ready for it. I just want to say, everyone, thank you so much for being a part of today. This is the first of a series of different panel discussions. This one's focused on mentorship. Our next panel discussion is focused on AI and productivity. How are we integrating AI into our everyday lives, and have we let it come a bit too far in some places? We're going to have an AI researcher as part of that panel, a few data scientists, and some ethics professionals too. So it should be a great conversation. Look forward to that debate. And wink, wink, there's a lucky sponsor that'll be part of that discussion too. So look forward to that too. I ain't going to say too much. But awesome. So to round off this discussion, panel, we came here to answer one question and we haven't gone and just answered it. So, people, is mentorship actually overrated? Missy, you're looking at the sky. I'm sorry, I'm targeting you. What do you think?
Okay. So mentorship can be a lot of things, but I don't think it's overrated. I don't think it's overrated. I think some programs and structures are overrated, but the mentor themselves aren't. And the reason for that is because I've got so much value out of being having mentors, and they've allowed me to get to know parts of myself. They've actually stretched me, my mind, and even being able to engage in certain conversations with others is because of the conversations I have with my mentor. Things like language, expanding my knowledge base and how to even approach people, even stuff like my administrative skills, learning how to formulate an email. These are skills that I probably wouldn't have been able to pick up on my own. But one thing I will say is that you need to be intentional about it. A mentor is not going to fight for you, they're going to fight with you. So you need to make sure that you want it, not just be there and hope that they can just pick up on your weaknesses and like, oh, you need to work on that. So I would say to set clear goals for yourself. I want to be junior, I don't know what the role is. I want to be head of the marketing team. All right, what is the JD for that role? What are the skills that you have? What are the skills that you don't have? That's how you do your internal audit. And I feel like sometimes people just, like someone said in the chat, that when you don't have a mentor, you can just have fun and just try different roles and everything like that. And I guess it could be fun. But I think another fun thing to do is audit yourself and go in the direction that you want to go. Time, I don't think time is an essence because time is always great, but it would be nice to streamline yourself. And then the last thing I would say is, like, when you do have a mentor, eventually, don't just go off because they make sure it's a right fit for you. So make sure your mentor is a right fit for you, not because they have so many accolades, because they could be PhD holder, that, but they're not right for you. And it's also important to try and build a relationship with them and take it offline from the program and everything.
Thank you, Missy. All right, we'll move on to other people. And just to say as well, if you're interested in being a part of future roundtables, please fill in the form below. It's in the chat. And we'd love to hear the topics that you are able to speak about and other topics that you want as well. In addition, we found in the community there's been a need for people to get more confidence when it comes to public speaking. not just to large crowds of 5,000 people, but also giving presentations in their corporates and that sort of simple public speaking stuff as well. So there's a BYP Toastmasters. If you're interested in joining that and being part of that, please also fill in the link too. You also see a link to our WhatsApp group. We talked about WhatsApp groups. The BYP WhatsApp group is getting popping. I'm going to say it's getting popping. I'm going to be honest. It's getting popping. So join in now as we get popping. All right. Jason, is mentorship actually overrated?
Charlie, I'm not sure. What are you looking for? You know, and I think that's what I'll come from the angle of what are you looking for in a mentor? Maybe you need a coach, maybe you need a sponsor. A mentor cannot do everything for you, but definitely one thing I would say is I've had helpers along the way who were interested in my journey, who helped me step by step, you know, and I think just looking for even helpers or people who are interested to help you, give you direction here and there, would help. Is it overrated? It depends. Everyone's got an opinion. Uh, Miriam, should I say yes or no? I don't know.
You're asking someone else for it.
Okay. Is mentorship overrated? No, from my experience, no. I can't forget the people that have helped me and have mentored me. It's something I won't forget, and I really appreciate that. So it's not overrated.
Jerisha, what do you think?
So I feel like this conversation has actually radicalized me a bit more.
Oh,
Yeah. So again, I believe mentorship is a great tool. I've had some mentors, I mentor people, but I think the course of this discussion, we've spent a lot of time discussing the need for personal development in your career. How skilled are you? How are you showing up? This is like code switching, but also how proactive are you? Are you well networked? Are you saying yes? Are you touching grass? And I think what Missy said about identifying the areas you need support resonated a lot with me. And just to kind of round off, I feel like mentorship is overrated because there are so many things that need to be addressed internally to be successful, especially as Black talent. A mentor can help you identify those things, right? But it is really on the individual, and we have to be in a certain place to receive mentorship for it to be productive. So yeah, I believe it is overrated.
See, I'm muting myself. You got me so riled up, I muted myself. I'm joking. So love that, Jerisha. And then finally, last but not least, Miriam, is mentorship actually overrated?
So I would say absolutely not. And if anything, it's needed, especially when it comes to other things that I've touched on, such as like retaining staff, even in terms of diversity and inclusion in workforces, it is important. But I think one of the key things with mentorship is that, as has already been outlined, if you are a mentee looking for a mentor, do your due diligence, do your checks to ensure that you're aligned with the person in whatever way that be, whether that's, okay, I want to get to X place in the next year or 2 years of my life, this person can help. And don't always essentially just wait for someone to come to you, like go out there. So even if you use platforms like LinkedIn or if you go to networking events, you could then essentially get a gist of whether this person can help you and be bold enough to ask people, listen, I'm at this point in my journey. Can you help me? And it doesn't necessarily have to include mentorship. Like I've reached out to people who have turned out to be a mentor if you were to put a title on it, but we haven't actually said, oh, you're my mentor or I'm a mentee. So be bold. As I've said, I'm really big on working smart and not hard. Like if there's any way where you can shortcut your journey to success, I am here for it. But find the right mentor that can help you and work hard.
Okay. What a way to end it. By the way, I love the fact that we're not all in agreement here. I love that. That's what you want. Different experiences means we come up with different conclusions, but we're still able to have a civil and wonderful conversation. So I want to give a great big thank you to all the panelists. Can we give them all a round of applause wherever you are? in your world. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jerisha. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Missy. We appreciate your participation here. If you want to be on a panel next time, please fill in the form at the bottom of the chat. And if you have any other points as well, I'm sure everyone here is available to talk on LinkedIn. Am I wrong? Am I right? Hopefully I'm right. I just put you guys out there. Panelists, happy to chat? Yes, thumbs up. Love it. So please.
I've just seen in the chat, someone asked what an internal audit is. If you message me on LinkedIn, I can tell you more about that. Because I don't want to take. Yeah.
There you go. There, Loki, that was networking right there. I love that. Okay. Brilliant. So thank you everyone for your time. Hope you have an amazing dinner and have amazing future conversations in your various places. Please join us for our next roundtable or join us at our Toastmasters. Have an amazing night. Enjoy your tea. Person who was sick, I hope you're feeling better. Anyway, have a great night. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.